Coping styles describe how we deal with stressful situations. There are adaptive or good coping styles and maladaptive or bad coping styles. And knowing which style someone has can help you get insights into, obviously, how they'll deal with stress, but also how they might behave in a variety of different contexts. In this work, we wanted to predict people's coping style by analyzing the text that they post on Twitter. Let's start with some examples of coping styles. Maladaptive coping styles can include things like avoidance, trying to get away from a problem without solving it, and that can often manifest in substance abuse or emotional eating. It can also include emotional distancing, where you pretend the problem doesn't exist and try to step away from it.
You are indeed brave tonight, but the fight is mine.
Oh, had enough, eh?
Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left.
Yes, I have.
Look!
It's just a flesh wound.
Adaptive coping styles, or good ones, include things like trying to formulate plans to solve the problem, to get rid of the thing that's stressing you, or, if you can't do that, turning to your friends to get social support.
Oh man, I can't feel my toes. I don't have any toes. I think I need a hug.
What we wanted to do in this work is take all the different types of coping styles, positive and negative, and see if we could essentially draw a line to separate the adaptive from the maladaptive coping styles. To do this, we recruited through Psychology Today and other online channels to have people take a standard test that predicts their coping style. We allowed them to share that on Twitter after they had done it, and we grabbed their tweets after they took the test with their consent. We had about 100 people participate. When they took the test, they looked at sentences like this, and they rated how much on a 1 to 5 scale they used those types of strategies to deal with the most recent really stressful situation in their life. So it is things like, I concentrated on what I had to do next, the next step, or I tried to analyze the problem in order to understand it better. There's a long list of these, and so people took the test. They got the results at the end to see what their coping style was and how much they matched each type, and then they shared that. We collected all the tweets and all the coping styles, and the first thing to see here is how the coping styles varied among our subjects. First, you can see about 2/3 of them had a good coping style or an adaptive one. Those are all shown in green. About 1/3 of people had maladaptive or poor coping styles, and the different types are shown here. The one in the biggest segment, accepting responsibility, is an interesting one. It's where you blame yourself for all the problems that you're running into, even if it's not your fault. That may be something that we're all trained to do as academics. We then took the text from each person and we ran it through Receptivity. This is the tool that Luke has provided on their commercial wing, and so it includes all of the Luke features plus some additional features on things like thinking style. We tried using the main features from Luke as well as 3 subset features that appeared to be highly predictive from the Receptivity set. They had statistically equivalent performance, and so the fact that we can use only these 3 features from Receptivity was pretty impressive. They include analytical thinking and thinking style, and adjustment, which deals with the kinds of social relationships we have and how much support we have. And these basically map to the kinds of features that we want people to have for good coping styles. They're either thinking about ways to solve their problems or they're turning to their social circles for support. We had 3 features there, and those fed into a naive Bayes machine learning algorithm that did classification, and it output either adaptive or maladaptive as the coping style for the user. In the end, we achieved about 80% accuracy, 79.05 with those 3 features, and the area under the receiver operator curve was 0.848, which is very good. And so overall, it turns out we're quite successful at being able to predict coping style into the adaptive or maladaptive category with relatively simple composite features drawn from the language people post on Twitter. So how do we use this data? One way is that if people find out that they have a maladaptive coping style, there's therapy out there that in a relatively short time can help them make changes with it. And so this could be part of a tool that makes suggestions to them about needing that. We've also used this as a feature in our work that we've done on computing whether or not alcoholics will recover from their alcoholism in the short term. We've built a feature that includes coping style as one element of making that prediction. So I think there are a lot of ways where coping style could be informative, and this classifier gives you a tool in order to include that in more complex inferences. In the meantime, if you want to work on your coping style, try to solve problems and things that are stressing you out instead of avoiding them. And if you can't, make sure you look to other people to get some hugs.